And here we are yet again for another lesson. This time, taking things even one step further than what we did in the last lesson. Last lesson, what we did was actually created a guestbook system. This time, what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to create a stat tracker, a statistic tracker, if you will. Basically, we're going to monitor when a person comes into your site, and we're going to record that person's IP address. We're going to record what page they're viewing, and basically what time it is. And we're going to do this for every page they view so that we can then turn around and on our side we can have a little results page that will go in there and it'll break all this information down into something useful. So basically we could say, okay, how many times have all these pages been viewed? So in other words, I could quickly see which page is most popular, which is least popular. I can also go in there and I could look at a particular person by their IP address, and I can see what path they took, where they came in at, and how long they spent on each page, basically by the timestamp that's been recorded. So it's some pretty good stuff here. We're going to make, 2 or 3 mock pages, I think, and then we'll go ahead and we're going to show you how we can efficiently tie this in quickly to any web page on your site. And so at the very end, we'll just quickly tie it into the guest book as well. And let's see, anything else that we need to add about that? Well, yeah, I guess I could go ahead and say something about if you have a very large site with a tremendous amount of traffic, then you may want to go in there and actually create a stat cruncher, if you will. And it's something that we're not going to get into in this particular lesson, but a cruncher just goes in there and it takes and adds all the records together and puts all those numbers into a table that basically is not going to have hundreds of thousands of records in there.
So have a number that goes to 100,000.
Do what now?
Just have instead of having hundreds of thousands of records, have a single number that goes up to 100,000.
Absolutely, and we can regurgitate that out of the table a whole lot faster than having to go through hundreds of thousands of records. But anyways, this again is designed for beginners. So if you've got a site with where you're receiving millions of page views, you probably already have a nice statistic tracker in place. But this allows us to kind of stretch our wings out a little bit here. We're not going to focus so much on HTML code as we did in the last lesson. This time around, we're going to be focusing more on straight PHP. So with that, let me go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Logan.
Okay, again, the first thing we'll need to do is create a table to store this data. More specifically, we're going to create a table that holds what page they were on, what their IP was, and what time it was when they hit the page. So I'll open up the MySQL Monitor one more time. Switch over.
Yeah, by the way, the reason we keep starting out with a blue screen like this and opening up the MySQL Monitor over and over again is so that in case any of you guys just decided that some of the other lessons were a little bit too beginner and you jump straight into one of the more advanced ones, it's a good starting point, I guess you could say. So here he is right now. He's creating another table into the BuzzDB.
And, of course, using the BuzzDB first. So specify what DB we're in. Database, and we'll create a new table, and this one called tracker, and it will have a field called page, which is a var char 64. We'll store the IP, also a varchar, this one length of 15, and we'll store the time that they hit it, or a date, auto, just like in the last lesson, and int unsigned. I could have gone on to a new line so it didn't wrap, but this is a little bit easier. So at the end of that, so create the tracker table, and there we go. We have a tracker table.
So now we have our table.
So that's pretty much it for what we need to do in the MySQL Monitor. Go back and create a new page. The first page we'll be creating is the actual tracker itself, as in the page that will write a record to the database that saying that the page has been viewed. So right off the bat, we're going to go ahead and create. We're going to need to establish a connection to the MySQL server, same as in past scripts. So I'll just grab, say, the guestbook or the counter. Grab those first 3 lines where we're connecting to this, where we're loading the config script and connecting to the server, and also selecting what database we're going to be using. So I'll go ahead and grab those 3 lines real quick, and let's see. So the first thing that it's actually going to do is immediately upon loading, it's going to record what page it's on and what the user's IP is and what the time is. So we need to go ahead and figure out what those variables are going to be. So first, we're going to do $this page, this underscore page. This is going to hold the name of the page or script that they're on right now. And as we saw before in the guestbook, we used $_ server, so a predefined array. One of those elements in that array is PHP self. So as in, what's the name of this script that we're on right now? Store that in $this page. Then we'll get $IP, and that is also stored in the $_server array, predefined array, and that is called remote adder. Okay, and then finally we have date auto equals time, just like before when we were getting what the current time is. So use the time function to return the current time in seconds into $date auto. So now we need to go ahead and put a query together. So $query equals, we're going to be doing an insert into that tracker table, and we're going to be inserting into the fields page, IP, and date. Let's see, date auto. And into those fields we will be putting the values, $, and again these the first two are a char, so you'll have to use quotes, and since we're already inside double quotes, we use single quotes for the actual SQL command or SQL syntax. And we'll say $, this page, so whatever page they're on right now, and we'll put $IP, again, $IP inside of single quotes. And finally, even though at this point single quotes aren't required, but we're going to use them anyway, just in case the field was somehow blank, it wouldn't create an error. So finally, we'll put $date auto. So store the timestamp, or the current timestamp. So we got the query put together. Now we need to actually go ahead and run it. MySQL query, and we'll give it that $query. So run the query, and it's using $connection. So with that will actually store this information in the database. But this tracker script is also going to double as a counter. And so it's actually, at this point, going to go in there and check what the current number of records are. Because the way this is going to work is this tracker is going to be put on individual pages. So it needs to go to the database and find any page that equals itself, or equals the page that it's on right now, basically equals that $server PHP self, and then count how many records there are for the script that it's on, and return that number. And that's how it'll act as a counter. Let me go ahead and set up the query for that. So query equals select count. I'll explain this count thing in just a minute. Count star from tracker where. So now we're not just grabbing every record, we're only grabbing where the page is equal to $this page, and this page having an underscore being inside single quotes. So alright, select count. Instead of, we could do a select star from tracker where the page is the page we're on, and that would return, say, 20, 30 records, and then we could use the function MySQL num rows to return the number. But that's unnecessary data that's being transferred. It's actually giving us back the data from that query, and we don't need to do that. We only need a number, the number of how many records match the current page. So we're selecting the count star from, so basically counting the number of pages that match this page. So we're saying where page equals the page we're on. So we'll go ahead and run that page, or run that query, MySQL query. Again, well, actually, make this a little bit faster. Same line, copy, paste. So with that, and okay, so we're running a query to get, this time we're running the query to get data back. We need to display this number somehow to the user. So we have to go ahead and use, put these results in a variable somewhere. I'll put them in $result equals MySQL query. And then, let's see, we need to actually store, so now we've got all the results of that. But we still need to run a MySQL result in order to grab the exact result we're looking for. So I'll go ahead and do $views equals MySQL result, $result, and in this case it's only going to return one row in a sense. So we can assume that that's going to be the only row 0, And the name of that is going to be, since this isn't an actual a field, it's just a name that's been created. You can actually, in this syntax, you can give this a name, but it's not really necessary for what we're doing here. So just basically display the results of count star. So count star being holding the number of records it got when it went through and counted all the pages that match this page. So now we finally have the number of views so far on the site stored in $views. And we can go ahead and echo $views. And with that, that should make up all we really need to make the basically the core tracker script. So I'm going to go ahead and save this out as tracker.php. And even though the script is actually going to be implemented in other scripts in just a minute, it'll actually run on its own. So let me go ahead and load it up just to demonstrate. So I'll go ahead and load up tracker.php. Interesting one. So a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on. Let's refresh the page. 2. So it's got to be storing some kind of records. So let's bring the MySQL monitor back up. Do a select star from tracker, and look at that. The name of the script, obviously it's running, it's its own script, tracker.php. The IP, I'm hitting it from localhost, so that's the IP. And the date auto. So there's about 5 seconds in between when I hit the pages.
So if I was to cruise on over here and
Right.
change this, you said it's tracker?
Tracker.php, yes.
So I'm typing with one hand.
Yeah, he has to type now.
They can't see. And, okay, so now it says 3 on me. And look at that with an IP address in there.
So,
okay,
so that's the core tracker script. Now let's go ahead and write some other basically pseudo real pages that would utilize this tracking function. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new page, and this is getting a little messy, so I'm going to close out some of the older scripts. Like we don't need to worry about loops, if, the var test. Might leave the guestbook open. So this is going to be more like a normal page. I'm actually going to go ahead and write a little bit of HTML just to simulate if it was an actual
so, yeah,
page.
he's just faking or simulating as one of your web pages on the site.
Head, title. You thought you were done staring at HTML. So page 1, end of title, end of head, starting body, and then header 1. This is page 1, and page 1. Just throw 2 new lines in there. Let's see. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm going to make 3 copies of this page, and they're all going to have links to one another. So we can just click on these links and jump through these 3 pages for a test. So I'm going to go ahead and write out those links here real quick. So href equals page1.php, and we'll actually make that say page 1. End of that, a tag, start a new line, and easier than that. Copy, paste, paste. So page1.php, page 2.php, yeah, page 3. So page 3. So now I have 3 links to walk between these pages. And let's see. One more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to throw an extra new line in here. Now, the whole point of this little dummy page in a sense, is to easily add tracking functionality to it. Let me see. Let me end the page off first. So, let's see, end body, and HTML. So this would display as a page. Now, since we wrote that little tracker script just a minute ago, now what do we have to do to add tracking functionality to this page? Very simple. As a matter of fact, it can be done on one line. Open a PHP tag. Instead of going to a new line, I'm just going to write all this out on one line, and I'm going to use an include. And I'm going to include that tracker script, tracker being in quotes because that's the form it takes in. So include tracker.php, end it off. Let me see, wait. There we go. Spell include correctly. So include the tracker script, And that'll be it for this first page. So all that code, this is another example of efficient programming. So all this code that was required to go in there, check or increment the number of pages, get some information, save it to a database, all that's done in one script. And that way we can reuse that information by just adding a single line of PHP code. And again, using include here instead of require, the effect will be the same. You basically have this page brought in and all its code executed.
Or we could have just copy and pasted.
Yes.
But this is, as you said,
yeah,
far more efficient.
it's kind of the equivalent of going in here, grabbing this chunk of code, and pasting it where this include line is.
Exactly.
And again, using include instead of require, because if this fails to include, we don't want to totally kill the script out. We just want to let it keep going, which is what it will do.
Right.
So with that, I'll go ahead and save this out to say page1.php, same as in these links. So we got to make page 1, page 2, and page 3. So there's page 1. I'll just change a few of these numbers. And let's see. Save this as page 2. And oh, I wrote 3 there. Hang on. Save as page 3. Then page 2. So just a couple of test pages. And now, go ahead and load one of those up and see what it looks like. So page1.php. This is page 1. Warning, failed to include tracker. This is what I was talking about. It's a warning, not an error, because it was including it, not requiring it. So fail. I probably missed the name. TRA include tracker.php. There is no just tracker file. It has to be dot. You have to actually specify the full file name. Makes sense.
Okay, stay very still, Logan. Just stay still. Sorry.
Ow. Okay.
Logan had a very interesting
awesome
spider on him.
Cool.
And
that would suck if it went on my neck. Anyway, thanks. All right. Anyway, correcting the error. Tracker, now tracker.php. Refresh this page. And of course, okay, I was on page 2. Great, now I have to go in there and alter the page 1 and 3. So bear with me for just 1 second as I open up page 1 and 3. So okay, here's our 3 scripts. Scripts. Page 1, tracker.php. Excuse the little typo there.
Make sure to do saves.
And .php, so you save all.
There you go.
And refresh. 1. Okay, that number doesn't mean a whole lot. We can do, let's go.
Well, that's the beauty of having it all in just one little file now.
Right, let's go back to tracker. Echo views. How about we actually say what this is. Echo, this page has been
there you go.
Viewed dot $view. Actually, since it's we're inside double quotes, I won't even concatenate it. I'll just say it's been viewed $views times, like such. Save that puppy out, and through changing one script, now we just refresh this. This page has been viewed 2 times because I just refreshed it. Page 2. This is page 2. Viewed 1 times. Page 3. Viewed 1 times again. This is the first time. Let's go back to page 2. Second time we've seen that. Third time we've seen this page. And so on as we click through all these pages. Now, so what does this record actually look like in the database? Let's run that select again. And there we have a whole lot more records, but this way it's tracking the individual pages I was on, which is really cool because I've got, when you do an include, I'm including this tracker file all the time, and way back in tracker we got the PHP self, and that's set by even though it's including the tracker.php file, again, it's basically the equivalent of taking all this code and putting it inside of, say, page1.php or page 2. So that $_ PHP self, or server, the element PHP self, is going to hold whatever page did the include. So this makes a very efficient method so you can track all the pages you create on your server, and all you have to have is one actual tracker file. So that's as far as what the user would see, that's a working system now.
So quickly, I guess we could, even though we haven't done the results yet, we could quickly show them how fast we could bring the guest book into the whole thing.
Okay, if we want to start tracking the guest book real quick.
Yeah.
We've got these page 1 through 3. Let's go ahead and make the guest book track as well.
I mean, this just really goes to show how efficient this is.
All right, we want to add stat tracking to the guest book. Copy. Guest book. Let's say... okay. There is one, let's see. let's go ahead and just do that first. Just go ahead and include that tracker.php real quick. Save the guestbook, and let me go back to guestbook.php. Unexpected.
Go back into your code. You got the
oh,
PHP
yeah,
within the
of course.
tag.
So, getting a little bit overly happy with the copy function. So, okay, inside PHP tag, run the include to include the tracker script. So, this page has been viewed one time. So you can move that around to, let's say, the bottom if you wanted to put the tracking at the bottom. And let's see. Yeah, let's add it right before, actually right after the end center.
And
but in
we
this
need
case,
some new PHP tags.
So I should have done this first. Put it on the bottom of the script. Anyway, so the full line, open PHP tag, close PHP tag, include the tracker before the document ends. Refresh. This page has been viewed 2 times. Of course, we could space it out, make it look a little bit nicer, but that's the point. Now if we go back to the database, rerun that select, now we can tell how many times the guestbook has been hidden
and by who,
and who's accessed it. So we've, in one line of code and only one PHP error, we've gotten tracking on the guestbook page.
Cool. So I guess now what we'd be interested in doing is basically write some type of results page that the admin or webmaster would use to see exactly what's going on.
Right. As you can see, this would get very hard to read quickly if you had people browsing your site and had hundreds of records in here. It'd be nice to have this more neatly formatted out and give a few nice tracking features. So what we'll do is we'll actually go ahead and start on a stat tracking script. So open up a new script, and let's see. First thing we need to do, of course, open up a PHP tag. And then we need to go and we need to establish a connection to the database, exactly the same as we had in other pages. So I'll just go ahead out of the tracker script, grab its connection. 3 lines necessary, connect to the database, grab the right database to use. So now inside of the tracker, what we're interested in doing is looking at those records and pulling them out, very similar to doing the select star. But we need to put them in order and maybe add a little bit of grouping to it. So let me go ahead and set up the query. So $, query equals going to select star from the tracker table. Select star from tracker, and as I look around. Now, instead of, because just select star wouldn't really give you any advantage over just looking at the results through Telnet, or the MySQL Monitor. And so what we're interested in doing is giving this output back in a few different formats. In this case, we're going to group it by IP, so you can see how many views each person has, or how many times each person has viewed certain pages. So, group by IP. So then we'll go ahead and run that query. Connection, and let's see. So now we need to let me look over this just a second. Actually, I'm going to do this part a little different. This was to show, let's see. Okay, yeah, this is just showing how many individual people have hit the site. So let me do this a little different. Count. So count how many people there were that actually hit the site. So then I'll do $. I just need to be $result equals. Alright, so we're going to be running this query, getting results back, storing it in $result, and then we're going to echo the number of results we got back. I might go ahead and make the little $views variable just to make it a little bit clearer. $views equals MySQL result. Again, just getting result like last time in the guestbook script. $result and 0 since we're doing a select count star, and the actual field we want is just that count star. So paste that in. So now we've got the number of views. So alright, now we've got the number of individual people that have hit the site. So if one person hits the site 10 times, that's still just one person. If a second person hits the site 20 times, that's only a second person. So that's how this part of the script is going to count the people. So echo, let's see. So echo $views dot UNI, so unique IPs. And let's see. So that's the first part of the tracking
Which we
script.
could go ahead and close off the PHP tag and actually execute it just for
Okay.
some testing purposes.
So we'll close that off, and let's save this as stats.php. So let's see if that works. And apparently there's... Alright, so what happened? Blank number, so obviously views didn't get set, so we didn't get anything back from
we're
this.
Missing an S.
MySQL result.
Down one line.
Oh, good one. I was about to go and debug the whole query and everything.
No.
Good. Okay, good.
That's why I wanted you to run it. Ta-da.
Okay. 11. Okay, that's where I needed to do the syntax a little different. That's counting all the records grouped by IP. So that's the number of times one person's hit it. I see why you do have to do select star, so that grabs everything, and then use, instead of equals a MySQL result, do MySQL num rows. And give that $sign result. So see how many rows, or how many individual people. So 2 unique IPs.
Now, what you might want to do is go ahead and take a second and explain why
I changed that. All right, select count. That was going in, and it was grouping by IP. The reason you do that is if you were, say you have, all right, let me see if I can show this. So you have, if you wanted to do a select count, say, actually I could probably just type out the SQL to do that right here.
Yep.
Select star from tracker. Let's see, select, okay, so the first one I did, select star, let me select both star and count star from tracker group by IP. Alright, that's what I was getting at. Count is very useful for if you want to return a few records, but then figure out how many of this record we have, how many of this record we have. So we're grouping by IP, so it's going to throw, just grab in the actual rows that it displays, you're only going to get one of every IP that happened to be in the database. In this case, there was only 2, so it grouped it by 2. What the count thing did is it went in there. That's what makes group really useful. Is that you still have the number of times this IP has hit the site stored in that count star. But the overall number of IPs is only 2. So that's where we wanted to get the MySQL num rows, which will return, we see this, the select star return 2 rows, and that MySQL num rows is going to hold that number. So you can tell, that way you can tell that 2 unique IPs have hit the site. Okay. So moving along, we want to go and show some actual page views based on based on various pages. So in this, we're going to select. So echo. Let's say let's extend the script a little bit more. So echo.
So basically, what you're doing now is setting it up to show how many times each page has been viewed.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So your page views, and let's see. I might change this in a second, but for first, it's going to be used to show each page how many times each page has been viewed. So to do that, let's run another query, and a quick way of speeding things up is grabbing an old query and modifying it. So this new query will be select star. So let's see, select star, count star from the tracker table and group by page. So now we're grouping, so we're going to do some grouping and count count out individual pages. And again, this will show that that count star thing again. So actually run the query, store in $sign result, and now we're going to have an unknown number of probably multiple records that this select is going to return. So we need to go ahead and do a for, as we're going to need to loop through these results. So for $I, starting at 0 again, like in the guest book, and keep going until $I. Keep going while $I is less than, let's see, the number of rows. So MySQL num rows. Of course, that that gets its information from $sign result, and then finally $sign I plus plus. So go ahead and block that in real quick. Now, inside of here is where we're going to actually display lines showing what page, how many times that page has been viewed. So we need to find out. Let's see. We need to get a few results. So first, I'll get like what page we're on. So $page equals MySQL result. So basically grabbing the page field. So so tie it into $result. And then going through each time I gets incremented, grabbing the next record, and we'll be looking at page in this case. So got $page, $IP. Let's see, page number of views. So the IP equals. Let me just copy that first line. So store the IP in a variable. Again, getting from the IP field. And then we need to find the number of views. Now, this is going to group by page. So you're going to have just a list of each page name. You saw there was multiple pages in the database, but the results are just going to show one record per page. And if that page occurred multiple times, then count star will count how many times. So number of views has to equal that count star. Okay, so we should be ready to echo some of this information out. So echo. Let's see. So what page we're on. And let's see, concatenate, or we just go ahead and put $page. And the number of views. I might add that IP in just a second, but I just want to get this up and running so you can see how it works. So $views. So just echo out the page. Probably need to go ahead and throw a line return in there. Okay, so going through, selecting from the tracker table, grouping by page, but also counting in case there's multiple occurrences of a page. Then we're going to loop through all the results of this query and set up a few variables based on MySQL results, and then echo some of those results out. I might take a look at IP in just a minute, but let's go ahead and save this and see what it does. So refresh that, and let me straighten the page up just a little. It's a little bit hard to read now. So page, yeah, I didn't need a line return after the first one. That made it a little bit confusing.
Just a space in there.
So I put a space instead, maybe 2 spaces. Refresh that. So what page? Page1.php. Number of, let's see, page, number of views, the tracker script. And, okay, this looks a little confusing. That page views should have had another line return.
Yeah.
Like such. So, page views, what page? The guest book, number of views, 2. What page? Page 1. The number of views, and so on. Again, that tracker script is in there just because we actually ran the tracker script itself. So, this makes a little counter, and I kind of left IP out because it doesn't really apply here. And yeah, it doesn't. See, if you were, it would only. We're not doing any kind of counts on IP, so it wouldn't really be relevant. It would just show the first one that happened to be, it happened to find when it was doing the group. So again, you wouldn't even really need the $IP. I'll just comment that out, and I'll probably use it a little later. Let's see. Now we need to.
I guess we could kind of neaten things up real quick if you don't mind.
Okay.
Go ahead and bring back up the actual web page real quick.
Okay.
How about after unique IPs, we put a space there, and then we BR tag it twice to drop down for before we say page views.
Yeah, put an extra line in here.
Yeah, at least two maybe. One will do the trick. And then after page views, after that, let's go ahead and take the word page out each time since that's kind of grouped up under the title page views.
Gotcha. So let's just echo $page
I'm
instead.
just being picky.
That makes the page look better. It's a good thing to do. So under unique IPs, so you're saying after
unique IPs, yeah, double BR tag it.
And let's see.
Good enough. And then that's okay with the big space. Now, all right, so that's pretty good.
All right, now let's go ahead and add a little bit more functionality. Let's see individual people and how many times each IP has viewed the page.
And thinking about it, where we could probably put this is where it says 2 unique IPs.
Let's do that before the.
And then right underneath 2 unique IPs, put those 2 unique IPs.
And how many pages they've viewed.
And do you want to do how many pages they viewed right there and make their thing a link that goes?
Exactly,
All
yes.
right, now we're going to be getting interesting.
All right, so above this section, right after we listed what the unique IPs were, let's go ahead and we're going to be doing stuff very similar to this. We're going to be selecting some records, grouping on a certain field. So let's grab this to save time. Let's grab the entire, starting with the echo and all that the code we ran through. We'll copy that and then paste a copy of it right here. So again, this down here, this bottom page views was the one we had initially written. So let's go ahead and change this one. That's now going to display IPs and how many times each IP has viewed the page. We'll change that to, say, IP views. Maybe change that to something that makes more sense in a minute. But this time, key things we need to change. We now want to group by IP, so we can count the number of times each IP has viewed a page. And then we'll run through, and this time, let's see, page isn't really going to be all that relevant because, again, they could have viewed a single IP could view multiple pages. And the page that will display is just the first one it happened to hit when it was going through and grouping stuff. So we'll take page out. And this time, IP is very relevant. As a matter of fact, we can take IP out down here since we're not using it. So now IP is very relevant. We want to go ahead and grab that IP field. And again, the count star field. So we can see how many times this IP has, or how many pages this IP has viewed. So we'll do echo what IP we're on, and then views. Okay, we have views set up. So let's go ahead and save that out and see how that looks. 2 unique IPs. I guess we could take out an extra.
Yeah, now we can pull those up a little bit.
So let me grab extra new line tag out of this. And so again, we're not stressing any on HTML here.
This can be prettied up a whole bunch.
So we've got 2 unique IPs. What IP, how many times it's viewed, another IP, how many pages it's seen, and then individual pages and how many times those have been looked at.
Now let's go ahead and make those two IPs a link, and we can click that link, and when we do, it'll take us to a new page that's going to show us
give a record of where all that certain IP went.
Yeah, and this time we'll end up ordering it by the date timestamp.
Right. So let's go, and this is actually, it's going to be a new script because it's going to do stuff very different. I mean, you could make this one reload itself with a certain amount of info, but then you're really loading down the script for especially the window we have to work in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out these page 1, 2, 3 since we know they're in place and working. Then I'll create a new script. Again, PHP tag like before. And let me grab the connection because we need to make a connection, same as last time. So make an actual connection. But now let's think about this for a second. Well, let's see, and let me go ahead and make this the IP a link. So instead of echoing out just the IP, let's go ahead and make that. Let's see, href equals habit. Now we could do the $_server PHP self. You can go ahead, feel free to add that in yourself. But well, seeing as how it is, it is in double quotes, we can go ahead and do that. So href equals $server. Let's see. Okay, so now we're getting a little bit deeper in HTML. See how I'm outside of the ahref equals, instead of going in and doing single quotes like before, I'll just go ahead and concatenate. So dot server, and then PHP self. So just go ahead, we will go ahead and have this page submit to itself. Ahref equals, and then close, so concatenate back in. So ahref equals whatever the current page is, but we need to be able to specify to which page it goes to. No, wait a second, we do need to go to a certain page. We do need to go to, we don't even need to concatenate yet. Needs to go to, yeah, my bad. We made a new page.
What we're going to do is go to that new page and send it the IP address.
So ahref equals stats score IP dot PHP. Let me think how I want to set this string up real quick. Probably need to go and maybe just make the single quotes so we can use double quotes inside of the HTML. Now, all right, we're going to be submitting, or we're going to be now. In a sense, not really submitting because it's not a form. It's a link that goes to that stats IP page. But in this case, we need to specify an IP because we need to know who we're going to look at to see what pages they view. So remember, like we did when we were using the get method, do a question mark and then say variable equals something. So let's say IP equals. Now this I do need to break out. So I'll do single quote dot dot open single quote again, and in here $IP. So what this will actually show to the browser is go to that stats IP page, and then question mark IP equals whatever the current IP happens to be. So we'll say, so then it'll actually show the IP, then close the A tag. So that'll set that up as a link. We can go ahead and test it real quick. And let's see, yeah, I have all this. I do have, see, that's what happened. See where it's saying $IP, and I really want to have it show the actual IP. I'm inside of single quotes, so again, I'll have to break out the single quotes, use the dot to concatenate, and then concatenate the end of the string on. Save it, and refresh. So there, we actually have the IPs as links, and if you look real carefully at the bottom of the browser here when I hover over one, you can see that it's referring to that stats IP page, and then giving it IP equals whatever IP I happen to be hovering over. So let's go ahead and write that stats IP page to accept this data. So in this new script, I've getting ready to establishing a connection to the server, but I also need to know what IP is being sent. So let me go ahead and set that up here. $IP equals, actually let me see, just so it doesn't interfere with the predefined variable, let me do $cur underscore IP equals $_ get, and then IP, as in, since we're using question mark and then sending an IP equals, so that will be stored in the element named IP, and that will hold that actual IP that we're trying to send over. So now in this through a link, we're sending this script the IP stored in cur IP. So now we can go ahead and run a SQL query. Let me set this up and actually echo out what the page is going to be saying. So echo pages viewed by $cur IP. New line. So go ahead and now we can go ahead and run a query. So set up the query equals, very much like last time, select star from the tracker table, group by, in this case we want to group by IP because we're sending it an IP.
Do we want to group by an IP, or do we want to just say
where
IP?
Right, yeah, my bad. Getting a little group happy too. Where IP.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to use this select and filter out just that one IP address.
So select star from tracker, where IP equals whatever IP we just sent it through that link. So $, and again this has to be $result equals, because we need to gain access to these results that this will return. MySQL query $query $connection. So run the query, and now we need to actually go and loop through all the results that this returned. So we're going to go ahead and start a for statement.
not to back you up just a little bit, but you might want to add one more thing into your query, and you might want to kind of order by the.
Okay, yeah, put that. Okay, yeah, the use for the date auto. We can go ahead and have it order, like in the guestbook, order by that date auto.
This way we can see when they come in, what page they went to next.
So the first page they hit, then what page after that, and so on. So it'll make sense. It'll be in order. So again, okay, so now we've got the query we need. We've got the results. Now we need to loop through those results. $i equals 0. And keep going as long as $i is less than minus QL. So number of rows of that result, and $i plus plus. Keep incrementing it. Lock that in. And now, so some stuff we're going to need is what page they hit. So we'll do $page equals MySQL result. And again, taking that $result, we're going to grab the index, or what row we're going to be looking at is $i, and the name of the field will be page. And we also need the date that was stored in that record. So $date auto equals grab the date auto field. And again, this is stored as a timestamp, so it would be nice to format this out in a more user-friendly format. So we'll do $date equals, using the date function, to say formatted in hours, minutes, seconds, month, day, year like before, and give it that $date auto. So take in date auto, that number, then format it out into an actual more easy to read date. So we've got our variables set up, and now we can go ahead and echo out what page we're on. So echo page, see page, $page, and if you space over a little, and let's see, date. So they hit it at $date. And let's see, go ahead and put a line return after that. So what page, and then the date that they hit it, again in order because it's ordering by when it actually does the select. So let's go ahead and save this out and see if it works. Save as stats. Remember, we're in the link before, we're referring to it as stats_ip.php. Save it out. Go back to the little generator here. Click on an IP, and it looks like I forgot to block something in, or whether they're on line 19, line 18. Let's see. Yep, forgot to put the terminator. Okay. Script corrected. MySQL num row. So little typos getting a little bit later. MySQL num rows. Finally. And there we go. Page is viewed by localhost. Hit the tracker twice. Then went to page 1, refreshed page 1, went to page 2, page 3, so on, and then that's where I added it to the guestbook.
Yep.
So let's go back and let's see where the other IP, it went to just one page. It hit the tracker page once. Cool. So there you have a little tracker system. So as people go through different pages, see how many individual people, how many pages each individual person has viewed, and then how many times each individual page has been viewed. So that's pretty useful information for a simple script.
I know, especially for being an issue number 2. I think this is pretty sophisticated for beginners. The whole key to this thing, I'd like to point out, it kind of all surrounds just that very basic tracker.php file that he wrote at the beginning, because
right.
He's coming in here and just simply including it into every file. So if he needs to make any sort of changes to the actual tracker system, in other words, if he wanted to go in there and actually, there's some information that you can retrieve. We'll get into this a little bit later, where you can actually find out what browser they have. You can find out, there's a ton of stuff that you can
right.
actually grab. But anyways, browser being probably one of the most demanded things, from people, operating system, et cetera, et cetera. But you can then break that information out and store it. And if you wanted to add all this a little bit later on, it'd be very simple to just go into that tracker.php file, add it in there, make your updates to the database, and everything just continues on instead of having to go to 50 different pages and making updates.
You can include that. Well, like we put it on 3 pages, you can put it on 30 pages, 300 pages, but you're still using just one actual script to do tracking.
Absolutely. So with this one right here, I know we've covered, or Logan's covered, a ton of content. And, instead of kind of reviewing every single thing again, I think this is a particular lesson that might be beneficial if you just watch again to kind of re-grasp everything that's happening. It's really not that bad, though, if you think about it.
Right, it's just going through queries, and some of it looks long because I went and took the time to go in and say IP. Like in these cases where I did, let's say I created a variable for page, created a variable for views. What you could do is it's fine to just echo out a MySQL result, but then you end up with lines that stretch out long, which is fine if you're very used to looking at it. This is just to make it a little bit easier to see.
You're right. And I guess finally I can just go ahead and issue another challenge out to all of you guys that are actually watching this. If you're really interested in participating in what we're doing, see if you can create something like this. See if you can add it to your existing site. And give us a show. Let us see what it looks like. And, of course, you can go in there and doctor it up with some nice, pretty HTML. But, come up with something that looks pretty fancy. Maybe add a little bit to this. Give us a holler, and I'd definitely love to check it out. So with that pretty much wraps up this section, huh, Logan?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.